The late afternoon sun cast long shadows. Emily Carter, a bright smile on her face, walked briskly down Maple Street. She was heading to meet a friend at their usual coffee shop. The aroma of autumn hung in the air. Emily loved this time of year. Little did she know, it would be her last. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow on the street, Emily disappeared. She simply vanished, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a void in the hearts of those who loved her. It was as if the earth had swallowed her whole, gone without a trace. Emily Carter was a vibrant young woman. At 23, she had her whole life ahead of her. She was an aspiring photographer, her camera her constant companion. She captured the beauty around her, finding joy in the simplest of things. On October 15, 2021, Emily's life took a tragic turn. She was due to meet her friend Sarah at their favorite coffee shop. Emily never arrived. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Sarah, worried, tried calling again and again, no answer. Panic began to set in. Where was Emily? Diana Carter, Emily's mother, knew something was terribly wrong. Her daughter was always punctual, always in touch. The silence was deafening. Diana immediately reported Emily missing. The police started their investigation. They searched Emily's apartment. Nothing seemed out of place. Days turned into nights. The search for Emily intensified. The local news ran her story. Flyers with her smiling face were plastered all over town. Hope began to dwindle. Diana clung to the belief that her daughter was still out there, somewhere. Each unanswered ring of the phone, each passing moment without news, chipped away at her sanity. Where was her daughter? The police continued to investigate. They dug deeper into Emily's life. They examined her phone records, her social media accounts, her emails. One name kept appearing, Daniel Reeves. Daniel was Emily's ex-boyfriend. They had dated for a year, but things had ended badly. Daniel had become possessive, controlling. Emily had tried to break up with him several times. He wouldn't accept it. He bombarded her with calls and texts, begging her to come back to him. When she didn't respond, his messages became threatening. The police brought Daniel in for questioning. He denied having anything to do with Emily's disappearance, but the evidence against him was mounting. 2 weeks after Emily vanished, a group of hikers made a gruesome discovery. Deep in the woods, hidden amongst the trees, lay a body. It was Emily. The once vibrant young woman was now still and cold. Her camera, her constant companion, lay broken beside her. The police descended upon the scene. Forensic teams meticulously combed the area. Every piece of evidence was crucial. They found a crimson scarf near Emily's body. It wasn't hers. It was identical to one Daniel owned. The net was closing in. The evidence was undeniable. Daniel was arrested and charged with Emily's murder. The crimson scarf became a chilling symbol of the case. It was more than just a piece of fabric. It was a silent witness to a tragic event that had shattered lives and left a community in shock. The scarf, with its deep red hue, seemed to hold the very essence of the crime within its fibers. It was the piece of evidence that linked Daniel to the crime scene. Found at the heart of the investigation, the scarf was meticulously examined by forensic experts. Every thread was scrutinized, every stain analyzed in the hopes of uncovering the truth. His DNA was found on it. This discovery was a turning point in the case, providing a direct connection between Daniel and the scene of the crime. The DNA evidence was irrefutable, a scientific fact that could not be easily dismissed. Fibers from the scarf matched the fabric found on Emily's clothes. This match further solidified the link between Daniel and the victim, painting a grim picture of what had transpired. The forensic evidence was building a narrative that was hard to ignore. The prosecution presented a strong case. They meticulously laid out the evidence piece by piece, constructing a compelling argument that Daniel was the perpetrator. Their case was built on a foundation of solid forensic science and logical reasoning. They argued that Daniel, driven by a dangerous obsession, had killed Emily when she refused to take him back. The prosecution painted a picture of a man consumed by jealousy and rage, unable to accept rejection. The defense tried to argue that the evidence was circumstantial. They claimed that there were other explanations for the presence of Daniel's DNA on the scarf, suggesting that it could have been transferred innocently. They claimed that Daniel was innocent, that he loved Emily and would never hurt her. The defense portrayed Daniel as a loving partner, devastated by Emily's death, and wrongfully accused of a crime he did not commit. But the jury didn't buy it. The evidence presented by the prosecution was too compelling, too detailed, to be dismissed as mere coincidence. The jurors listened intently, weighing every piece of evidence, every argument in their minds. The evidence was too overwhelming. The combination of DNA, fiber analysis, and the narrative constructed by the prosecution left little room for doubt. The jury was faced with a mountain of evidence that pointed squarely at Daniel. The crimson scarf, a silent witness, told its story. It spoke of a night of violence and heartbreak, of a life cut short, and a love turned sour. The scarf, once a simple accessory, had become a symbol of tragedy. The jury was left to decide Daniel's fate. They deliberated, knowing that their decision would have profound consequences. The weight of their responsibility was immense, as they sought to deliver justice for Emily and closure for her grieving family. The trial of Daniel Reeves was a media sensation. From the moment the case was announced, it captured the public's imagination. The story had all the elements of a gripping drama: a young life tragically cut short, a grieving mother, and a suspect whose motives were shrouded in mystery. The courtroom was packed every day. People from all walks of life came to witness the proceedings, some out of genuine concern, others driven by morbid curiosity. The atmosphere was electric, charged with anticipation and tension. Reporters lined the benches, eager to report on the latest development. Every detail, no matter how small, was scrutinized and broadcasted to a captivated audience. The media frenzy added an extra layer of pressure to an already intense situation. Diana Carter sat stoically throughout the proceedings. Her grief was palpable. She was a picture of quiet strength, her eyes reflecting the pain of a mother who had lost her child. Every day she faced the man accused of taking her daughter's life, her resolve unwavering. She wore a picture of Emily on her lapel, a constant reminder of the daughter she had lost. The photo was a symbol of her love and her quest for justice. It was a silent testament to the life that had been stolen and the void that could never be filled. The prosecution presented a compelling case. They meticulously laid out the evidence, painting a vivid picture of the events leading up to Emily's death. Their arguments were clear and concise, leaving little room for doubt. They laid out the evidence piece by piece, the threatening messages, the crimson scarf. Each item was a piece of the puzzle, fitting together to form a damning picture of guilt. The jury listened intently, their expressions growing more serious with each revelation. The testimony of Emily's friends who recounted Daniel's obsessive behavior was particularly powerful. They spoke of his jealousy, his possessiveness, and the fear that Emily had confided in them. Their words added a personal dimension to the case, making the tragedy all the more real. They painted a picture of a man consumed by jealousy and rage. The defense fought hard. They tried to counter the prosecution's narrative, presenting their own version of events. They argued that Daniel was being unfairly targeted, that the evidence was circumstantial. They tried to poke holes in the prosecution's case. They questioned the reliability of the witnesses, the authenticity of the evidence. They suggested alternative explanations, hoping to sow seeds of doubt in the minds of the jury. They argued that the evidence was circumstantial, that there was no direct proof that Daniel had killed Emily. They pointed out inconsistencies, highlighted gaps in the timeline, and emphasized the lack of a clear motive, that there was no direct proof that Daniel had killed Emily. They urged the jury to consider the possibility of reasonable doubt, to remember that the burden of proof lay with the prosecution. But their efforts were futile. The evidence was too strong. The prosecution's case was too well constructed, their arguments too convincing. The jury could see the truth, and no amount of legal maneuvering could change that. The evidence was too strong. The jury deliberated for hours, but in the end the verdict was clear. Daniel Reeves was found guilty of the murder of Emily Carter. Justice had been served, but the scars of the tragedy would remain forever. After weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury reached a verdict: guilty. A collective gasp filled the courtroom. Diana Carter closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. Justice had been served, but it would never bring back her daughter. Daniel Reeves was sentenced to life in prison. He would spend the rest of his days behind bars, paying for the crime he had committed. The case of Emily Carter served as a chilling reminder of the dangers of obsession. It showed how quickly love could turn to hate, how easily a controlling relationship could turn deadly. Justice had prevailed, but at a devastating cost. Emily Carter's story is a tragedy. She was a vibrant young woman, full of dreams and aspirations. Her smile could light up a room and her kindness touched everyone she met. Emily had a bright future ahead of her, but it was all taken away in an instant. She was a young woman with so much potential, her life cut short by a senseless act of violence. Emily was a dedicated student, a loving friend, and a cherished daughter. She had plans to make a difference in the world, to leave her mark in a positive way. But her memory lives on. Her community came together to honor her life, holding vigils and memorials to remember the joy she brought into their lives. The outpouring of love and support was a testament to the impact she had on those around her. Her story serves as a warning to others. It reminds us of the fragility of life and the importance of being vigilant. Emily's tragic end has sparked conversations about safety and the need for greater awareness. To recognize the signs of an unhealthy relationship. It's crucial to understand the red flags and to take action before it's too late. Emily's story is a stark reminder of the dangers that can lurk behind closed doors. To seek help if you are in danger. There are resources available and it's important to reach out. No one should have to face such threats alone. Emily's legacy is a call to action for those in need to find the courage to seek assistance, to speak out against domestic violence. We must raise our voices and stand together to combat this pervasive issue. Emily's story has inspired many to join the fight against domestic violence, advocating for change and justice. Emily's legacy is one of awareness and prevention. Through education and advocacy, we can work towards a future where no one has to suffer as she did. Her story is a powerful tool for change, encouraging others to take a stand. Let us honor her memory by working to ensure that no other family has to endure the pain of losing a loved one to such a horrific crime. The grief and sorrow felt by Emily's family and friends should serve as a catalyst for action. Remember her name, remember her story. Emily Carter's life, though tragically short, has left an indelible mark on all who knew her and even those who didn't. Her story is a beacon of hope and a call to action, and never forget the dangers of obsession. It's a reminder to stay vigilant, to protect ourselves and our loved ones, and to always be aware of the signs that something may be wrong.